Welcome back to the Better Living Interest channel, where we dive deep into real estate, financial literacy, and community empowerment. Today, we're honored to have a powerhouse guest, Erie County Legislator Taisha St. Jean Tar. She's not just shaping policy, she's reshaping neighborhoods, from housing initiatives to small business support. Taisha's work is a blueprint for community-driven leadership, and we welcome her to our channel. Welcome, Legislator St. Jean Tar.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. I appreciate everything that you're doing and helping the community and informing and empowering.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Well, let's start with your journey. What inspired you to step into the world of politics, and how has your personal background shaped your approach to leadership?
To be honest, I didn't think I would end up in politics as an elected. I always loved the idea of shaping legislation and building community events and being that goodwill between the public and government. So for a long time, I worked at a staffer. I was an unpaid intern. That's how I started. And after a while, I built my way up to before being a legislator, the chief of staff of the Buffalo Common Council. It was a long journey, but something that I knew for sure when this position specifically opened up was that I wanted to make an impact in the community that raised me. So I grew up on 14th Street. I'm a homeowner with my husband in the University District. So I have real deep roots. A graduate of Buffalo Public Schools. I went to college here. So I get it. And knowing what's going on every level of government, we need someone who not only took buses, walked the same street, but understands the experience of how to direct budget cuts and legislation, but most importantly has the thumb in the community and gets it.
100%. And it was a pleasure working with you when you started off your career. Intern 2 in City Hall. Now look at us.
Yes.
And look how things have flourished and blossomed for everyone in their career. And we're still doing that work, right?
Yes. And I think what makes it special is that when we were both grinding and learning and doing everything in that building, even after we become in different positions, we still stayed in touch and we continue pouring into not only the community but each other as young professionals. And I think that's the direction that we need to continue in.
Yes. And speaking of, what were some defining moments early in your career that solidified your commitment to do public service?
So a lot of people don't know, but I actually wanted to go to law school. So I was actually the City of Buffalo's law department youngest intern. I started working in the law department every summer since I was 14 years old. And after a while, when I started having internships in government offices, that really switched for me. And I realized that I didn't want to defend the law in that way, but I wanted to be a part of listening to the community and writing laws that I could see the impact every day. So I started my career, I mentioned, as an intern in Councilmember Wyatt's office in the University District, and just seeing the impact from getting streets done or going to the Block Club leaders and listening to their quality of life issues, or even getting small legislation passed that really made a huge impact. That was moments like that really made sure, and I would say instilled why I wanted to be in this field. The second big moment would be like when I created the University United Festival, which that is its own beast. Our last one, we had 20,000 people out there. We had Robin Thicke, Music Soul Child, and being so young and being the chairwoman of that festival for a decade really showed that we need to bring government to the people and meet people where they're at. And that was another moment where I knew this is the work that I wanted to do because it was so rewarding.
Yeah, that's like a staple in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. You gotta go to that festival.
It's funny because it started in the first year. I had 2 months to plan it, and it rained out. And I was like, oh no, we can't ever do this again. But the community really wanted it. And the reason why the festival even came in place was that one year in January, we asked the community to make a wish list of what they would like to see in the district. And that was on the wish list. So from there, we took what the community wanted and just made it happen. And every year it grew and grew and grew. And I think that it speaks volumes of what government should be. We should be listening to the people and trying to make it happen, or even if we can't make it happen, being very transparent why.
I like
I like
that.
that.
Meeting the
Meeting the
people where
people where
they're
they're
at.
at.
Absolutely. And that's the way I legislate. That's how, since being in office, I meet people where they're at and try to make things convenient and not hard to get to.
Yep.
And you went from
wanting to go to law school to now being a law creator.
Yeah, it's definitely rewarding, and I had a couple local laws pass, and knowing that like I not only helped research it and I took it from the community from my listening sessions, but I was able to write this and work with our law department because of my experience.
Amen. Let's go. Let's do it.
Love it. And you're also the youngest, correct?
So I'm the youngest actually elected official in the city of Buffalo that I represent. I'm the first Afro-Latina Erie County legislator ever. So that's huge. But most importantly, I think what makes my district so special is I represent 7 council districts of the city of Buffalo. I have a very large district that has different needs from the Upper West Side to Elmwood Village to the East Side of Buffalo. So I think that's also unique. You don't often see that. For example, a council member represents about 32,000 people, where I represent 82.
That's major. And speaking of that you're crossing different councilmatic districts, can you speak about where one area where your leadership stands out within the real estate sector, especially supporting equitable development and residential and commercial spaces? Can you share some of the initiatives that you have led or supported that directly impact housing and small business spaces in your district?
Absolutely. So right now we're focusing on east side of Buffalo. So I have Bailey, Kensington, Eggert Road, around those areas in basically Massey University District. And in those areas, we're looking for affordable housing. So there's a lot of vacant lots that you probably know about, Polly. And then with the county partnership, with the city partnership, we're going to start building houses. And I want to say in the next 2 years, the goal is 76 houses. Specifically, I know Masson District is getting a big chunk. So that is a county and city of Buffalo initiative together. So when they sell those properties, it's not like the city of Buffalo and the county gets that money. It's actually going back into that program. We have a lot of vacant land, but not only I'm focusing on that development aspect and pushing to address our housing crisis, which we are in a housing crisis, but we also have to prepare our residents to be able to get those homes when they go live. Since being in office, I had an event in February where we helped and gave the people the blueprint and a booklet of how to start, and having all the resources at the Living Greater. So that was just the start. Another thing that I really want to work on is figuring out how to make a matching program where there is certain grants, but those grants go so quickly that it's unrealistic to have. And we need to pour more money in there, or we're going to have to figure something else out. With that said, we would love to bring back the federal government matching program. Back in the day, they used to have, you put $1, they match you $4, and the max was like $12,000 that you could have in that account. One, it helped people save and get ready for a home. Two, if they didn't use all that money for closing costs, that's their savings. They can use it for things for their homes. Someone who was a homeowner, who is a homeowner, I remember closing on my house with my husband, and we were like, okay, great. We spent all this money closing. And then you go into your house and you have to spend more money because why? You have to move and you have to improve things and you want to make things your own. In Buffalo, our housing market is not always turnkey ready. That's just the truth of it. So we had to invest a lot of our own savings to just uplift that and make our home more our home. My house had tons of wallpaper. I bought my home from a 98-year-old. So a lot of pink, a lot of wallpaper. And that was a project that we had to take on. And that happens often. People think you spend your money, you save up, you buy your house, and that's it. But anything can happen. It's not like you can call your landlord anymore.
Yeah, you are
the landlord.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to account to your point. Moving costs, utilities, Now things are all on you. Do you happen to have an emergency credit card available?
You have a home
Yeah.
Depot card, you want to paint the house, you want to do this. It's a lot. And I think it's important not only helping people get into the house, but helping them keep that house, right? When you think about it, a home is probably one of the biggest investments a person can make. And if they play their cards right, they can probably use some of their equity, and you know this better than I can talk about, and buy another home with it. So this is an opportunity for them to build, or if they want to keep the home forever and pay it off and give it to maybe their kids one day. That's huge. And that's how, if you look around in our market, a lot of those homes where you see next to Delaware Park and the Rose Garden, you don't see those on the market. You know why? They're generational. They give it to the next person in line. And in our community, we need to start thinking that way.
100% agree.
And I appreciated you doing the abandoned elephant and grider. That was a snowy day.
Yeah, but you know what's something that it sticks in my mind is that there was a single dad that came with his kids. And he came, he's like, thank you so much for making this on the weekend, because he didn't live in my district. He lived in the Riverside. And he was like, I can never make it to these different events during the evening because I would get out of work late and then I have to go get my kids, where you made it very accessible. And that's why we wanted to continue having the series, and I can't wait to bring it back next year because we already got some calls about it. Our goal is really not only helping them get into the homes, but keeping those homes.
Yes, building generational wealth is the key.
And you see it too because you service almost two different worlds in Buffalo, right? Once you cross that main street, you're on the west side, summer turns into best. And you cross Main Street on the east side, it's Best Street. Like literally, there's differentiators with the names of the street, let alone the demographics on the east side being predominantly black and brown compared to when you move over on the west side, on the Elmwood side, it's predominantly white.
Yeah,
And that's just the reality of it.
I like to compare it though, like if you think about it, and I walk my district very much. I probably walk my district at least 3 times a week. And I mean throughout the district. And the best way to say it is that sometimes I'm on a street that probably the house value is about 100,000 to 150,000. Then I go on another street in my district and those house values are over like $500,000. That's the truth of it. I go on Elmwood Village, that is my district, and they're booming with business, and it's walkable, and their priorities, they have a farmer's market. Then I walk Bailey, and we have a lot of vacant properties, and there needs more love. And however, when it comes down to it, it's just all about ensuring that we can use Elmwood Village in a way and make it throughout District 2. It shouldn't be only Elmwood Village, but oftentimes people only think about the east side too. And I also like to bring it back. Grant Street doesn't look that great, and that's in my district. So as much as the governor is helping with storefronts on the east side, I know I'm getting calls from Grant Street owners, and they're saying we need help too. That's the reality of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I 100% agree. When I first moved to Buffalo, I was living on the west side. Grant and Bradley. I call Grant the Little Bronx. You know, because it reminds me very much of the Bronx. Multicultural, you got Hispanic, Latino, Puerto Rican, Dominican, East African, Yemenis, West Africans as well. It's interesting to see the dynamics of how that is, and I'm grateful to see that we have a person like you representing those districts who not only looks like that district, but also understands that district on an intricate level of living there and being there. You are definitely a mirror and a door for the community to see. And speaking of the dynamics of the Buffalo's east side and the Buffalo's west side, they have unique challenges. How are you working to ensure these communities are not left out of development conversations?
So the biggest thing is that we need to make sure both are, I like to say, open for business, right? we have to have a facelift in a way for both of the corridors. Bailey has the transit project, which is $102 million that's coming to Bailey Avenue. Then you have Grant Street that's fighting for a streetscape at this time. They want that investment. And the biggest goal is I'm going to have to advocate for Grant right now so they can get that. And that's a multiple $1 million project. When a lot of budget cuts are happening and where the city of Buffalo, to be fair, they're in a big financial hole, it's going to be tough. And I like to be real about that. It's not going to be easy for us to do streets and sidewalks when they look at a lot of like our residents think, oh, just do the streets and do the sidewalks and do the lights and all that. You're looking at $10 to $15 million. Where do we pull that when we don't even have that to give, right? So then we have to rely on state money and federal money and CHIP funding and all that. But we both know when you make a neighborhood, I would say, look better, people want to come and they want to see that investment before they their own investment in. So the biggest things I can do as a legislator right now is continue sending money over to the city, fighting on behalf of these areas and ensure that they're getting the facelift that they deserve. Since being in office, I've been able to send $1.7 million. And I've only been in office for about 8 months. So when you think about that, like that's a drop in the bucket when I'm telling you a project costs about $15 million.
Yeah, no, that's real. Development cost is expensive. Contractors, they gotta get paid. Inflation is just growing by the day. So yeah, dollars just keep adding up on the projects. But it's still great that you are committing efforts and energy and resources. And you'd only be here 8 months to allocate $8 million. We can only imagine what a year or 2 years is going to look like for you. So,
and I think too,
that's good
to hear.
Everyone needs to work together. I like to say I'm a connector. I work really great with the city council members. I work really great with the state senators. I work really well with our representative, Congressman Kennedy. Like, I work really well with everyone because I've been in government for a long time and I understand how the process works. I used to be in charge of making sure and working with the Department of Public Works on behalf of the council members, all 9 of them, to see if they needed anything. I understand that background of it. What I do know is that we need more investment, and I want to make this clear. I'm going to fight for as much money because our communities have been underserved and forgotten about. And I get it because I've lived it, I've seen it, and I've seen how our community has went down compared when I was growing up. Grant Street was popping. It had stuff going on. You can go grocery shopping, you can get your nails done, you can do this, you can do that. I walked Grant Street recently to drop off some newsletters and my heart broke. I was like, this is not the Grant Street I grew up on. East Side, same thing, on Bailey. I got my prom shoes from Jazzy Shoes. Like, if you guys know, if you're really from Buffalo, you know what I'm talking about. And Bailey was...
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Jazzy Shoes is where you got your heels from. But it's not like that anymore, right? But it can be. And that's the thing. Like, we need to get to the position where we're going to push and ask for it and make it happen. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring a grocery store to the East Side. I'm trying to figure out how can we get a Starbucks on the East Side. Those are the situations that I'm trying to figure out. If it's not a Starbucks, okay, let's get a coffee shop. Let's get because I was in Grant Street yesterday. I was in a coffee shop on Grant Street. Only 5 people came in. I was there for hours. 5 people. That is a problem. But when I was in Elmwood Village on Monday, that door just kept going. And that's where I would say we really need to focus on not only bringing things to our community, but really supporting it too.
Yes, exactly. And as a business owner, I respect and I understand that it works in different, I would say, sectors. We got to work collaboratively because you have the government to advocate and to push to get those funds from the streetscaping, the beautification, etc. Then you have your businesses that are the economic drivers for that community. They're creating the jobs. These are the people that are paying taxes. And then you have the community itself that they're the consumers, and they could also turn into becoming the producers. So it's a whole collective approach.
Absolutely. And I think that we need to get back to those roots as one, because that's the only way our city is going to get where it needs to go.
Amen. And again, I always reference the black cities like Atlanta, Houston, Charlotte. Every time I go on visit and I'm talking, man, I remember I was in Houston and there was a black developer. He owned a winery. He owned a car dealership. He had a club. He had a restaurant. I mean, he literally had the whole block, and people were going there. It was probably the comparison to Elmwood. But it was black owned.
And you think about it, so I was in Boston a couple years ago, and in the section in Boston, you can actually go to a church that Frederick Douglass spoke at. I don't know if anybody ever seen it or been there, but it was really cool. I went and I toured it, and then in there, it was about how, because they had to have our community has had our own schools and our own businesses because we couldn't use it, they were really into buying and developing our community as one. And I think we went away from that, right? When you think of Buffalo, like, we used to have a lot of African American Latinos owning stores and businesses and stuff, and they end up selling it, which sometimes they want to retire or whatever, but we don't think about that succession plan. And that's where we should be looking at. It's like, how can we buy block by block and really develop it and make it our own, because we have to live in this community. A lot of times the business owners or the owners of the buildings don't even live in the state. That's a huge issue, and we need to keep people accountable, but also we have to keep ourselves accountable. If we don't like something that's going on, we need to start putting our monies together and start buying and developing and building pieces possible.
Maybe like a black dollar challenge, right?
Yeah.
How long can we keep this dollar circulating within our community? Dry cleaners, grocery stores, pharmacies, all the things that we take for granted are basic necessities that have we own and we have those in our communities. Man, it'd be doing much better.
Absolutely. You see all these vacant buildings. It just needs a little bit of creativity and people pouring into one pot of money and making it happen. You hear stories of different individuals, friends coming together and putting their money together and buying an Airbnb or buying a Chick-fil-A franchise or buying a Starbucks franchise and then building it and making their money very quickly back because they seen that was a need in that community. So I think we need to start encouraging people and figure out what the true cost is of things, and before they get scared of making that investment. But also we need to start uplifting each other so we can come together and make those investments.
I agree.
Sounds like they need a market analysis and then a performer to put the numbers together. So speaking of all of these great initiatives and work, how do you balance the development with preventing displacement and gentrification?
So the number one priority is making sure the community has a seat at the table. A development should not be coming and kicking people out, one. A development should have affordable housing. If you're going to build apartments, you have to have some sort of affordable housing here. That has to be made very clear. But I think, in my opinion, we need to start steering on building single homes or doubles. Like, we have too much vacant land. So that's what I am looking at, is how can we make people homeowners. I think apartments are great, and some people don't ever want to be homeowners, and that's their own, it's based on what they want. I don't judge that at all. But something I do know, there's a lot of people that I interact with from all different ages that do want homes, but they just don't know where to go. So my focus a little bit more when we're talking about development is, let's build homes. Let's build that forever homes, because if you look at the data, Buffalo used to have a lot of houses, like a good chunk of houses, and now we have just demos, a lot of empty lots that are barely cut. and it doesn't take care of the community, and a lot of people are moving away because of that. I was speaking to a block club leader, and she said the only thing I want is these two lots is homes. I want more people on my street. That's real. So that's my direction of how I want to see our community.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
agree,
agree,
and
and
I
I
would
would
add
add
to it
to it.
for
For
those,
those,
because
because I do real estate,
I've
I've
helped
helped
so
so
many
many
people
people
with
with
get into
get into
home
home
ownership
ownership
all
all
throughout the
throughout the
state
state
and in
and in
different
different
types of
types of
properties.
properties.
I would
I would
also
also
encourage
encourage
development
development
for
for
condos.
condos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
because I
don't think
don't think
that
that
everyone
everyone
necessarily
necessarily
wants to
wants to
or
or
has the
has the
ability
ability
to
to
take
take
care
care
of a
of a
house of a
house of a
single
single
family or a
family or a
double,
double,
the
the
maintenance, the
maintenance, the
lawn
lawn
care, the
care, the
snow
snow
removal.
removal.
That could
That
be a
could be a
lot for
lot for
some
some
people,
people,
but
but
they
they
still want
still
to
want to
have
have
that
that
home
home
ownership
ownership
ability,
ability,
that
that
generational
generational
wealth,
wealth,
that
that
equity
equity
Right.
in a
in a
property
property
that
that
they
they
own.
own.
Absolutely.
And I
And I
think a
think a
condo
condo
would be
would
a
be a
great
great
opportunity for
opportunity for
that
that
too.
too.
And I love, to be personal, I love condos, especially I've talked to some residents. That's what they want. They're older. They don't want to buy, if we don't have ranch style houses here on one floor. A lot of
Yeah.
Buffalo homes are 2 floors. So it is a need, and you don't see condos as much in the city. There are, but there's not that much.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
speaking
speaking
of
of
these
these
programs
program
and
and
projects that
projects
you've
that
been
you've been
talking
talking
about
about
and
and
collaborations,
collaborations,
which
which
ones are
ones are
you
you
most
most
excited
excited
about
about
to
to
address
address
affordable
affordable
housing
housing
or
or
small
small
business
business
real
real
estate
estate
support?
support?
Ooh, that's tough because they're both so important, and they're important for two different reasons, right? One, I'm helping the community get that generational wealth. We're taking care of vacant spaces, but then small business development, we're making Buffalo, we're making the county a place to be. And I don't think personally I can choose either one because they need each other to be successful. People will buy homes where they can literally walk to the grocery store or to go take their kids to get ice cream. That works for people. So for me, as I'm the legislator, my job is to look at all these different issues that we are dealing with and say, how can we attack all of these? Now, I'm not going to be able to do it overnight. That's just not possible. But I think what I'm really lucky is that I have great minds around me, as you are one of them, that we're able to have those open discussions like, okay, this is what I'm hearing from developers, this is what I'm hearing from the community. I have different experts from finance to legal minds, and we all come together and say, we need to figure this out. On top of the residents talking to me, because I probably have the most events than any county legislator ever had. And I do it on purpose because I want to make sure that I'm accessible, right? But when you're accessible, you hear a lot of things and you get great ideas. For example, I got the idea of public dumping, making that illegal based on the community. So I think it's a mixture and it has to work together.
That's dope.
Keeps you
Keeps you
busy
busy
too.
too.
Oh yeah, my office is nonstop. My staff are top notch, but we have to, our residents deserve it. I like to say I'm new, but this problem has been a problem for decades. And this is the time where Buffalo is thriving and growing population and we're moving forward. We need to take this momentum and make a huge change if we really want to see it.
You're
You're
new to
new to
this
this
and you're
and
true
you're
to
true to
this.
this.
Yes.
So
So
as a
as a
legislator,
legislator,
you've
you've
been a
been a
voice of
voice of
minority-owned
minority-owned
businesses
businesses
and
and
emerging
emerging
developers,
developers,
which I
which I
appreciate.
appreciate.
What are
What are
some of the
some of the
key
key
barriers
barriers
you
you
see
see
for
for
Black and
Black and
Latino
Latino
developers
developers
in
in
Erie
Erie
County,
County,
and
and
how are
how
you
are you
working to
working to
dismantle those
dismantle those
barriers?
barriers?
They're not at the table. That's the biggest barrier. There's times where I would say some developers are the same developers that get the same things. And that's just, to me, the biggest mistake right there. Since being in office, I've been the vice chair at MWBE. And I've been on the IDA board because I'm the chair of economic development. And as I sit on those boards, I see 30% for MWB, great. But when people are presenting to me, they don't look like me. Those are the businesses that are benefiting. They're the developers. And it's not their fault. I'm not blaming them. They just know how to do it. And they've been taught how to do it. And they got that background where our developers are incredible and intelligent in our Black community, in our Latino community. The sad part is you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what availability that you can buy soon unless somebody tells you. And I think that's the disconnect. We need to start making our Black developers, our Latino developers, aware of potential big projects so then you can be a part of it. But then on the flip side of it, our Black and Latino developers better be ready when that opportunity comes to them. Mm-hmm. So that is what I would say is the biggest fault. And something that I've been trying to figure out is if they don't have to only think about Buffalo, and I'm speaking as a county representative at this moment, right? The county is large. There's other tax breaks other than Buffalo. I would love to see everything in Buffalo, don't get me wrong. But if this is the way for you to get in the door, start thinking about that, right? Start thinking and being creative, and I would say for any developer, just don't do the same thing. That's another mistake I see. I was in DC and I was in Target in a parking ramp. What? Like, how am I in Target and this is a parking ramp? We have that space. Why are we doing that? Whoever's developer who has this money, give me a percentage, because literally if you do that downtown, that's crazy. You're telling me you have to think outside the box, and I think a lot of times that's not happening. So I would say for our Black and Latino developers, start pulling inspiration from Atlanta and DC and Houston and bring that here. Because we know it works. We just got a Chick-fil-A a couple years ago. Soon enough, maybe that we'll have a Raising Cane. Things like that. And then when they bring it, everyone goes crazy. Shake Shack. The line is crazy for Shake Shack. Okay? That is the truth of it, where Buffalo is a consumer. Buffalonians love something that they got out of town. But if we're not using our brains and saying, okay, we seen this development. I seen in Vegas Ross in a building and then they had apartments on top. That's something that we have the space and the ability to do.
Yeah. And
it's going to be a culmination of the work that you're doing, the developer trying to make sure that they can get those costs lowered as best as possible, and then getting funding support.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's the biggest thing. And, I don't know what these next 2 years is going to bring, right? I know personally, as a legislator, we're looking at maybe having a tighter budget because of all the cuts on the federal level. And that will tighten the belt of the state, and it will tighten the belt of a lot of things where freely we can't give as much to the projects that we really believe in. We're going to obviously fight, because I'm a fighter. I'm going to try to get as much as we can, but those are real things. So that's why I'm really about if we can get developers to come together from our community and start pouring with each other and going as a unit instead of separate, I think we can really get a lot of things done.
I like that.
What advice would you give to the young entrepreneurs who want to invest and develop property in their own communities here?
Learn everything before putting a dime of your own money in, and before taking any debt. You need to have a backup plan. You should have a mentor. You should be shadowing people who've done it. You need to go out of town and see other developments in different communities, because you may not see it all here. You need to do your own homework before you just say, I want to be a developer. I've told anyone, even before I was in this position, before I even knew I was going to be appointed, before I won my endorsement, all that, I was reading the charter, Polly. I was looking at every meeting. I went through the budget. I was at school type of thing. I was going through everything, and I wanted to know the best, and I was looking at what Rochester was doing as the county representatives and all different things like that. And I was able to, for the first day, nothing shocked me. it wasn't like, oh, what do I do? I already knew what I was doing. I already had a plan. I had stuff in my Google Drive. We were ready to roll. But that's the same thing. If you want to be a developer, it's time for you to go to school, because it's not a book that's going to tell you what to do. But if you have people in your corner, or you can talk to people and really pick their brains, and you can go to conferences and you can learn, that's where I would say you should be investing your time and money in. Learn all of it, so when situations come up, you're not looking for answers. Because let's be real, ChatGPT is not going to tell you how to fix things like this. Only experienced developers will tell you how to fix things. So start making like a village for yourself. I've been very lucky. I have my own village. I call them my sisters. We call each other the Fab Four. I'm going tomorrow, actually, coffee with Leah, who's a majority leader. I talked to Zanetta nonstop. I talked to April, who was literally in this seat and now is a senator. Like, I am surrounded by people who have lived this too, because only people who know this environment will be able to give you the best advice. Same thing with any field, specifically when you're talking about developing and money and opportunities, tax breaks, all that. A book is great, but it's not going to teach you everything.
Yeah, no, as you're mentioning it, it's true. Like, now we have 4 Black queens that are elected officials that are moving things and bringing progress to this town that we haven't seen in a long time. And it's a breath of fresh air.
I have to mention our OG though, Crystal People Stokes, our majority leader. I have to give her shout out, because she's another one. She would have coffee with me, have lunch with me. That I have to give her flowers too, because she opened a lot of doors for us. So we're very lucky at this time that we have so many Black women, Latino women representing our community. But that hasn't always been the case. And something I think is special is that we all have grand ideas of how we want to make an impact in our community. But if we're talking about someone who has done it, Crystal has done it, right? Our majority leader has really helped in so many different ways. When you think about Michigan Street, she has been very much influential there, making sure they're able to buy 3 blocks. That's the truth of it. So I think there's opportunity for everyone, but the biggest thing is learn, network. That's the best advice I can give anyone.
That's a whole gem right there. We're going to take that. Appreciate it. And infrastructure is the backbone of real estate development. Can you share how your office is addressing critical infrastructure needs, such as transportation, utilities, or green spaces that impact real estate values and livability in your district?
So I like to tell people, the county, we technically don't own any city street sidewalks, really any real land too much. Only land that technically in my district the county owns is the golf course on Bailey Avenue. So
Didn't know that.
yeah, so in 2019, April Baskin, she created this urban initiative program where 6 legislators who actually do represent the city of Buffalo were able to send over funds, not only the city of Buffalo, Lackawanna, and Tonawanda, for funds, because they weren't receiving anything. Because when you think about it, every other legislator, they were part of the budget for infrastructure dollars, because technically the county had their streets and sidewalks. Since 2019, we've been able to invest $18 million. But I like to always ring the bell, where $18 million is probably spent a year for all the others. And we need to think about that a little bit more. How can we push it? And that's one of the biggest things that I'm looking at is, one, how can we make sure money continues to go? Because when you think about it, April did a great job negotiating. I know our chair currently will negotiate it. And I want to give credit to our county executive. He made sure the money was set every year. He knew the importance of supporting all those areas that I mentioned earlier. But we need to ensure that no matter who's elected or who's not elected, that money is sent over. That we're able to really invest and make our streets and sidewalks beautiful. And this year I was able to help Maston with lanterns and garbage cans and some sidewalks. And then I was able to help University with part of some of their business strip needed some more money to complete that project that I mentioned earlier in this interview. So that's just an example. And then the West Side's getting money. And like I said, I had to split it for 7 districts. So it's tricky to split $450,000. I was really lucky where I came the moment and I was able to grab some other money and negotiate during our budget time. But that's the truth of it. It's hard to say we want to fix everything. My job is to try to find money to fix it and help the city of Buffalo, but it really relies on them. And I will say that I'm very confident that the city knows this should be a priority.
Yeah. As a developer, you got to figure out ways how to split money for a project, right? You're talking about districts and communities and people who have different needs, and
I
I
can
can
see
see
how
how
that
that
could
could
be
be
pretty
pretty
challenging.
challenging.
And
And
also
also
too
too
with a
with a
limited
limited
budget.
budget.
Yes.
However,
However,
you're
you're
gonna
gonna
extend
extend
and
and
you're
you're
gonna
gonna
get
get
some
some
more
more
time
time
and
and
your
your
budget's
budget's
gonna
gonna
grow
grow
as
as
well.
well.
So
So
if
if
you
you
know
know
how
how
to
to
manage
manage
a
a
smaller
smaller
budget,
budget,
imagine
imagine
what
what
you can do with a bigger budget.
Absolutely. And I think the point is every year to get more, right? You want to get more, you want to push forward, you want to make sure that your community is taken care of. But we need to also look at what hasn't been done, and we need to, instead of just saying these couple streets tore it. I remember when I was a legislative assistant, we used to do a ride along with the DPW commissioner in the city of Buffalo. The council member, I remember I was in the car and we would do a ride along, and I would write down all the streets as we're driving through the whole district and seeing what is in bad shape. Like, we need to go back to that stuff. We need to look at what's wrong and how can we fix it. We need to start getting more creative, and the biggest thing is we just have to continue collaborating.
I agree. Is there
any particular project that you believe will transform a neighborhood and serve as a model for future development?
Oh, yes. So I think the Bailey Avenue Transit project, when you were talking about $102 million project, that's going to be huge, right? If you drive down Bailey, you want to lose a tire half the time because it's crazy. I think that's going to be huge. I'm really hopeful for Grant Street to get a streetscape project. That would make a huge impact there. And then, just to be real, a lot of our normal streets and sidewalks on the west side and the east side are not in the best condition. So we need to really start investing on that, because we really can change our community every street by street, block by block, and we need to start looking at that approach. And lastly, a lot of our brick streets, which make Buffalo very unique, is a lot of our brick streets, they're not in great condition either. And I know why, because brick streets cost a lot of money compared to normal concrete. But we need to look at that, because Buffalo could be, I would say Buffalo's beautiful. Like, it is. It is a beautiful city. Our fall time, you can't beat it. We have beautiful trees and everything else, but we really need to get back to the root of making it a place where people want to visit and spend money and bring tournaments. And when you're talking about development and bringing cool ideas, we need to bring in an NBA team. We need to do this. We can do that. I have all these great ideas, but Buffalo gotta look like it. Right now, if anybody's a Buffalo Bills fan, we're on Hard Knocks. And when you see Buffalo and the drone they're not showing Archer Park. They're not showing Archer Park. They're showing Buffalo. They're showing parts of Buffalo. And yeah, like, they show our stadium and all that, but when you think about it, imagine if we would have more investment in our areas, right? Our downtown, our east side, our west side. Attention that we didn't get before. We're on HBO right now. That should motivate us to be like, okay, what else can we bring here? What else can we do? What's a way for us to capitalize off of this moment, right? That's where I go with things. It's like, how can we take this momentum and just grow?
Yeah, and a good friend of mine and a guest of the show, Jillian Hayesworth, she first poet laureate. She won an Emmy Award for a poem that she wrote about Buffalo that was featured in the NFL. Her partner Gus, he was the director. He's also from Buffalo. He got an Emmy for that project as well. So yeah, Buffalo's getting a lot of national attention. Griselda.
Yes, yes. And that's the thing. If you think about all those big moments, and that has been in the last, what, year? So, year and a half.
Yeah, recent few years.
Yeah, like, this is the time for us to be like, okay, we're getting all this attention. How can, one, we honor those individuals because they choose to call Buffalo their home? They do. They can go anywhere, but they choose us. And how can we really make sure that we start bringing Buffalo as a destination? we can do it. It's going to take some work. And I'm down to work. And I've said this to anyone who's going to end up in the mayor's office. I'm not going to get political, but we've had conversations now. I'm talking to the council members. I'm talking to different state representatives. It's time for us to really shine a light on Buffalo because we deserve it.
And keep me posted when you're able to bring the new Buffalo Braves to Buffalo.
I'm telling you, I've been saying this for years. I want to. I really want to. I think we need an NBA team here. I know everybody loves the Sabres, and I'm not really great with hockey, but I think the Sabres are great. I love the Buffalo Bills, obviously. We have some great sports teams here. We really do. But we need an NBA team. Buffalo gets cold. I don't want to drive to Toronto to watch an NBA game. I think Buffalo used to have the Braves. It would bring a huge economic impact downtown. It was huge. And I think with that said, Buffalo could probably get them back. But we just have to be creative and once again, have what? Investors that's willing to say, yeah, let's bring a team here. And I will put money on it. If we did, Buffalo would go crazy. We are a sports city.
Legit.
I know, coming from New York City, moving here, you don't know what it's like to see a whole city support a team like they do here in Buffalo with the Buffalo Bills. Like they're already talking now, like, yeah, football season. I'm like, it's 98 degrees outside. I'm trying to enjoy this summer.
Listen, I think when you're thinking about Buffalo is what I love about our city. We're known as the good neighbors and everything, but I think we're a city of a lot of hope. I think we're a city of resilience, right? Buffalo has been through a lot, and we still grind and we still try to make the best, and we still have pride in our city, and we love Josh Allen and we love everyone who's on the team. But what I'm realizing even more is that the players are also loving Buffalo so much more back too. And I think it's because we're bringing that culture now. We're bringing that determination. And we're also, Buffalo is probably the most resilient city in the United States. Is one of the third poorest, if we want to be real. But we are the most resilient, and I think that it's about time for us to get out of that third poorest and beat that.
Yep, let's go. Lead the way.
So speaking of these big projects that you discussed, how can community members stay informed and get involved in these development projects?
Yeah, we're going to have a District 2 summit. What I realized, Buffalo has some conferences, but they don't have a huge conference where we're like, this is, instead of a state of the county or a state of the city or a state of the district, we're going to make this a large conference. We're going to have rooms. We're going to have people teaching. We're going to have things going on where you come in, yes, you're going to get fed and you're going to be informed, and I'm going to bring all the county and city resources in one space. I think that's important. But more important, I can give you resources, but I want you to also walk away getting a skill set. So we're going to take the conference mentality where people have to pay $500-$600 to go to a conference. We're going to scratch that, and we're going to make this free where everyone, and you don't even have to live in District 2 to be fair. If you want to come and you want to be empowered, that's what we're going to do. Another thing that we're going to be doing at this event is having a huge board where people could write down what they want to see. And then from there, we can take that and build our 2026 community agenda. Because like I've said earlier, it's not what Taisha wants. Like, I can want all of these great things, but let's say someone says we don't want a NBA team here, but we want a WNBA team. Okay, cool. Then let's look at that then. Because at the end, I have to listen to what my residents want and how can we make it possible. And if it's stuff that I can't do, I could say take that same information and send it to the people that are responsible in that area of government. It's all about really getting people involved, and that's what I'm trying to do. But lastly, something that's I think is really important is we have to start getting more people registered to vote. We have to get more people learning about the positions in government. We have to get people more excited to use their voice. And I think that's our next steps. When you look at this past election, 26,000 people voted out of how many? That's not impressive. That's sad, honestly. There was a statistic, I was on Channel 7 with Michael Wooten, and they were saying that there is less young people engaged in government, there's less young people registering to vote, and it's because they're disappointed in the system. We need to show them, you want this, we're going to make it happen, and this is how we made it happen. Now register, now learn, now get involved in government, now show up to those meetings, because right now we have the trailblazers handling everything, but they're not going to be here forever, and they want to teach. So we should be having people set up and learning from the best. I think about all these amazing block club leaders that we have. Like, when I tell you, our block club leaders are strong and mighty, and they're amazing people, but they want more young people involved so they can teach them. We need to switch that. We need to work on that. And as one of the youngest legislators, my job is to bring more young people involved in government. Show them this is possible. If they want my job, I always say, I'm always preparing my replacement. I got that from Zanetta. I took your line. But you always have to think about, how can I make the next generation involved? You know? And that's what I'm trying to do every day.
Succession planning.
Mm-hmm.
That's a true testament of leadership, I feel.
You
I
have
always say that a leader to me is defined by someone who's close enough to relate to, yet had enough to follow.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have tons of young people in my office. My doors are always...
I see.
My doors are open. And I mean it. We need to start figuring out how to not only bring them in, but also let them have a voice and empower them.
And speaking of this, because this is your leadership, right? How has it evolved with each challenge? How has your experience as a legislator changed your perspective on what it takes to create lasting community impact?
So I went from being a staffer to being elected, and that was a big change for me, because if anyone knows me, I'm a worker bee. I like to help, and even sometimes with my team, they're like, we got it, go ahead, just don't worry about it. And that's something that I had to learn, where I want to be the person doing everything to help, because that's what my job was, and I had to switch my hats and say, no, I'm the elected. My job is just to ensure that I'm making smart decisions by listening to the community. When I'm representing so many people, something that I started from day one was having a listening session in our communities and being able to have some sort of idea. And something that I've learned over that time is that the only thing that matters is that if you're able to look at yourself in the mirror making decisions at night, then you're doing a good job. My job is to truly work hard and try to fix as many issues that come across my desk. But also my job is to make sure government is transparent and reachable and accessible. People are able to understand the difference between county government and city government and state government and federal government. And I would say one of the biggest challenges is being the first, right? You have that pressure because you want to make sure that after you're done, that people that look like you will have an opportunity to sit in that seat. Being literally the youngest in my caucus, right, in the Dem caucus, I had to make myself assertive very quickly because I look younger than I am. I had to ensure that people had to learn to respect me. And also, I would say as a woman, as an Afro-Latina, a young woman, people usually underestimate that. And that was where I would say the learning curve was like, okay, I get this is what the environment is. I'm going to flip it on its head and show who I am and why I belong here. And I always tell anyone in government when they're starting as an elected, your first 2 months is like your probation. Yes, you're learning the job, but most importantly, if you're not grasping the job, yes, if you're elected, you won't be let go immediately, but think about it, you could be. And you have that responsibility to do everything you can to be the best employee, because I work for the people, like they pay me. You're going to have to be the best employee because this is a customer service job.
Legit. Ya tú sabes. That's great. And I know that the younger people they're listening to this as well and getting inspired. They can like that might be the struggles that they're going through now too in their current positions. And as you gradually grow and get into higher positions and into different places, you're gonna have to find that balance for yourself and what's gonna keep you motivated.
Absolutely.
Okay. You had spoke about some mentors that you had. Could you speak about politically? You spoke about some mentors. Could you speak about some community figures that have significantly influenced your leadership
Oh yeah,
style
so
and or family?
absolutely. So there's three that immediately come in my mind. One is my mom. My mother, when you say public servant, that's her. You look it up the dictionary, you should see a picture of Luz Garcia hyphen Esther. My mom was always, I would say, a force to be reckoned with in the community. Since I was little, I would go to events with her. And that's how I got the taste of why I wanted to be so involved. And when I say young, I was like maybe 4 going to events with her. She was a single mother, so she had to take me with her, but she still wanted to give back to the community. She showed me, I would say, how to grind and have grit and how to be resilient and how to be a proud Latina, but most importantly, how community should be everything and how we should give back in so many different ways. And then Judge Betty Calvo Torres, I was in the Miss Borinquen leadership pageant back in the day. And I crossed paths with Judge Betty and then also Joyce Nixon. And those two women really defined, I would say, my teenage years. They taught me, I would say, how to be a professional, a young professional quickly, how to have confidence within my own skin, how to navigate tough conversations, and how to express myself without looking or being too emotional, but being very straight to the point. I think that was so necessary because they taught me what to look like when I go into different environments. Something that they constantly told me was like, dress for the job that you want to have, always. And that stuck with me. And then lastly, in my college years, it was Jennifer Harris, who was literally not even my advisor, but you know when you just connect with someone. And we connected so quickly where I'm like, oh, I'm going to go here and I'm going to bug you all the time because we vibe together. And she just taught me to be fearless, I would say, and to really understand that me being great in academics was a flex and to really continue my higher education. She was the one when I was making the tough decision if I wanted to get my master's degree or go to law school. She helped me navigate that difficult decision and I ended up getting a master's degree. I was done with college by age 22. I had both of my degrees. And I would say because she was super influential and she showed me the paths and what ways I could really elevate, that was really influential. So those 4 women, if you think about it, have shaped me. And I'm really glad that they have. Rest in heaven, Joyce Nixon. She was incredible. I would say she was a community mom to everybody. But the other 3 beautiful souls, they have constantly been in my corner.
Amen. And it reflects.
Yeah, it's very important. As much as they poured into me, that's what I'm doing with the women that I'm crossing paths, is pouring into them.
Amen. If you could envision Erie County, specifically, maybe your district, because you have that responsibility over it. 5 years from now, what legacy would you hope to be leaving through your work in real estate, policy, and community
There's
development?
the big 3 that I want to do. I want to be the face of helping addressing this housing crisis and getting homes and helping people build generational wealth. I want to bring big retail to our community. And when I say that is grocery stores, stores that we see out of different states and bring them here, making sure that we're able to capitalize on our space, but also having things that are affordable for our residents to go and buy. And then lastly would be the biggest is making county government more accessible and transparent. When you think about it, government is not always so straightforward. A lot of people think we're doing things behind curtains. And to be fair, if they don't see it or they haven't heard or they're not extremely involved. I get that. Being transparent and have government really working for the people and having people work in government in a way, that's my last big legacy, because when you think about all the things that we have, that will make an impact. So community outreach, meeting people where they're at, is huge. And the last one I would say is my bonus, is to help do a lot of infrastructure projects in a way, and have some legacy project where money, no matter who's in any seat, is sent over to the city of Buffalo.
Fire.
Let's go.
Let's go.
With that
So,
great
with that
vision
great
and
vision
legacy that you're
and
about to
legacy that you're about to embark on, the
how can
community,
the community
how
help
can
you,
the
how can the
community help
residents
you?
and the
How can the
developers
residents, the
and the community
developers, and the
advocates
community
do
advocates
today to
do
help
today
bring that
to
vision
help
to
bring
life?
that vision to life?
Get involved. Call me. Come to my office. Let's work. Let's collaborate. And also, to the community, give me time. I haven't been here for a year and I'm making moves to make things happen. And I would say, give me that grace so I can continue, but also keep me accountable. I'm good. Keep me accountable, because at the end of the day, I work for you. But the things that I have envisioned is really what I'm hearing from the residents. And maybe that's not a true representation, right? If it's only so many going to the meetings that I have, show up. Give me your opinions. If you can't go, email me your ideas. Because that's the only way that I'm able to really make a difference. And I want to reference something because it was really huge. When I was at council staff, we had this research project. And it was about a city that did a happiness survey. And in this happiness survey, they mailed out to all the residents in that area. And the city was putting money and projects in that they thought was important. And after they got the happiness survey, they realized none of the things they were putting in place the people wanted. None of it. They realized they were doing the budget wrong, and the things that they thought was important to the residents is actually not. And what they were able to take those survey results and change it around, and people are starting to get more excited because they felt like, okay, the voice was heard. Most importantly, it wasn't a small percentage that they were talking to. They were able to reach a larger percentage of people.
Wow. It goes further when you listen. So we appreciate you for that.
Holding us accountable too.
And holding us accountable too, right? Because the community got to be held accountable to do this work. You can't just rely on one person or one group. It has to be a collective. So we're going to transition into our final parts of this interview, which is, to me, one of my favorite parts. It's the Better Living Rapid Five. So I'm just going to ask you some quick questions. Just want some quick answers off the top of your head, okay? Cool. So your favorite Buffalo neighborhood vibe?
Ooh, I'm gonna get in trouble. I like Elmwood Village. I can't lie. They got it going on. I can get ice cream and coffee at the same time.
Look good. I hear you. Dream commercial project you love to see built?
A grocery store on the east side.
Cool. One book every future leader should read.
Oh man, I have it too. I just lost the name of it. What was it called?
Was the author?
It's an Olympian book. I want to say it's like The Purpose of Win.
Okay.
What's your
go-to song that gets you in a winning mindset?
I would say.
Okay.
There's a couple. But, I've been really into Amen by Uncle Mike Jr. So that's been really good. But the other songs, I can't say it on here.
It's all good. We listen to Meg Thee Stallion and Glorilla out here.
That's the one I do listen to often.
Okay, copy. And if you weren't in politics, what career would you be thriving in?
I think I would be an educator, right? Like, I'm a college professor already, and I think that I would lean towards the academics. If I wasn't in government, I would still be able to help our young people, which is one of my passions.
And it shows, again, you're doing it. And still young. It's not even like you're
at the end of your career and it's like, oh, I got to pour it back in. No, you're like, no, I'm here. We
Yes.
need more. Let's go. So, Taisha, I thank you again for your time. Thank you for your service. Thank you for not just sharing your story, but also empowering others, empowering myself to see themselves as a change agent in their community. Your work is a reminder that real estate isn't just about buildings, it's about building people, purpose, and places.
Thank you so much. Also, Polly, let's do that question about the book. I just thought about the one that I actually really like too.
Go ahead, tell the people what's
So
your favorite
it's
book,
The Year
what
of
book you
Yes by
recommend.
Shonda Rhimes. That is a phenomenal book.
That's the woman that was the director,
Yeah,
right, and
so she
producer.
does
I think
Grey's
she was.
Anatomy. She has a lot of her own content, all that stuff. Incredibly talented writer, black producer, you name it, she's done it. But this book is all about the year that she said yes to a lot of the projects, which now when you look at her, she's extremely successful. But I would say that book really motivated me even in this space because for me it was also a year of yes, of saying yes, I want this opportunity.
Amen. We appreciate that. Thank you, Queen. Any last comments, thoughts, words for the
That's
people?
it. But if people want to follow me on our Erie County District 2 page, that's where you can follow all the things that we're doing, any events. If you want to sign up for our newsletter to just be plugged in, please do. We want to hear from you. And at the end of the day, my job is to represent you, and I want to know what you need in your community.
Yes, we appreciate that. Thank you. Definitely contact her, reach out to her. She said to send her email. So please follow up with that. And if you found this interview inspiring, hit that like button, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell so you can get notified of all the new content that's coming out. And comment on what you believe is the key to equitable development in your community. Until next time, this is Better Living Interest channel where we invest in knowledge to build wealth. Peace.